Hey, fellow YouTubers, welcome back. Judah Z, founding partner, PandA Law Firm. This is the PandA Law Firm YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about protecting your home, foreclosure defense strategies, right? How do we protect our most valuable asset, our home? Just like every video we do, we're here to provide information, right? To give you a kind of landscape, give you some knowledge. Knowledge is power. Also understand, sometimes I give Nevada specific information because I'm a Nevada attorney. We also have other lawyers that are barred in other states at PandA Law Firm, but please feel free to either contact us directly or contact a lawyer in your state that does this kind of work. Okay, so let's just define a couple things. What is foreclosure? Foreclosure is when a lender, a mortgage holder, wants to get back the security for their loan, right? So if you stop paying the mortgage, they're going to say, well, look, either you're going to pay us or we're going to take this home. We're going to sell it at foreclosure. We're going to use those proceeds to pay back the loan, and anything left over, you're going to get homeowner. So that's foreclosure. Now, the time frame and how it's done varies state by state. Sometimes you have only judicial foreclosures, which means that the lender must file a lawsuit to foreclose. Sometimes you have non-judicial foreclosures where they don't have to file a lawsuit to foreclose. They can do it through the recorder's office. Sometimes they have both, like in Nevada, and the lender can pick and choose which one they want to do. In every state, there's different procedures for doing that. Well, if it's a judicial foreclosure, they're going to file a lawsuit. They're going to go through the procedural steps of what's required for a lawsuit in that state. For non-judicial foreclosure, normally what happens in this hypothetical, let's say you stop paying, you'll start getting collection notices from the lender. Hey, do you want to pay us? You owe us money. If you don't pay us, we're going to foreclose. Okay, if you pay them, great, you're safe. If not, then eventually they're going to do something called a notice of default breach an election to sell, which in Nevada and probably in a lot of other states is the official start of foreclosure. It doesn't mean you're foreclosed on yet, but they can normally do this about 90 to 120 days after you're being behind on your mortgage payment. Now, once they issue that notice of default, sometimes that triggers additional protections in the state. Like in Nevada, we have foreclosure mediation program for primary residences for your home, where we can stop the foreclosure at that point and have a mediation, which we may talk about later. But if you do not do anything after that notice of default, then oftentimes what the lenders then do is going to record and issue a notice of sale, which is when they'll say, okay, 3 weeks after this notice is when we're actually going to sell the home. And you can still do something at that point, right? You can negotiate a loan modification, you can file a bankruptcy. There's other things you can do to stop that. But if you don't do anything within 3 weeks, at least in Nevada, they're going to sell your home at auction. Whoever's the highest bidder will get it, or sometimes it'll go back to the bank. Okay. And then also understand, not only can the lender foreclose, but sometimes the government can foreclose if you don't pay your property taxes, right? Your HOA, your homeowners association, can foreclose if you don't pay the HOA dues or the penalties. And those kinds of foreclosures are super priority in a lot of states, meaning that the county government, the state government, or the HOA is going to get paid before you, going to get paid before the lender. And so they have every incentive to foreclose. The other thing, which is also very rare, is sometimes outside judgment creditors can foreclose. So let's say you don't pay a credit card and they get a judgment against you. They can take that judgment, put a lien on the home, and sometimes they can actually foreclose on your home. And that's why you also need to look at homestead protections in your state. So what are some of the common reasons why people might face foreclosure? Number one, you have a loss of income, right? You work less, you got demoted, your pay went down, you got fired. All these things are loss of income. You got divorced, loss of income. Number two, increase in expenses. Someone got sick in the home, home repair, had a new child, right? All these things can increase expenses, right? These are all considered hardships. Perhaps you had a variable interest rate loan and now the interest rate has adjusted, right? So now you're paying more. Maybe you were on an interest-only program and now you're paying principal and interest. So now you're paying more, right? These are all increased expenses. So these are all things that can now affect your ability to afford the home, which may cause a risk of foreclosure. So we need to be aware of those things. Well, what are ways that we can protect the home from foreclosure? What are the options there? Well, there's informal options like loan modification, forbearances. Loan modification or forbearance are things that you negotiate directly with that lender. a loan modification is essentially a renegotiation of the present terms of your loan. One of the main things it can do is it can help you get back current. Beautiful. It can also lower interest rate. It can extend the term of the loan. It can put a piece of the principal on the back end as a balloon payment, sometimes interest bearing, some non-interest bearing. It can sometimes forgive principal if you're underwater on your home. All these things can protect your home against foreclosure and can make the payment more affordable for you. And we can negotiate these directly with the lender yourself. Now, it should be wise, or you may be wise, to hire a lawyer to do these kind of things. Like at PandA, we've done well over 8,000 loan modifications, so we know how this system works. But you have to make sure that they get the file, that the bank gets a complete file, that they get it under review, that you know how to escalate it to someone who can say yes and not say no. You got to know about their underwriting, what the parameters are for that investor, for that servicer, and what they can do in a loan modification. And oftentimes you won't know that unless you do hundreds of these things. So here, wisdom, experience is very important when it comes to loan modification. Another thing that might happen, or that you can maybe do, is some kind of repayment plan where they'll take your arrears, your past due amounts, tack them on, or allow you to pay them off over a number of months on top of your current payment. Sometimes that's affordable, sometimes that's not. Something else that can be done is a forbearance, right? Where the lender may say, well, look, take the next 6 months off. We saw these a lot during COVID, right? COVID forbearances. Take the next 6 to 12 months off. Don't make a payment to us. Well, it's really important to understand, well, what do you do with that payment, lender? Sometimes they'll imply to you that's gonna be put on the back end of the loan. Make sure you get that in writing, because oftentimes what we'll see is the lender will say, okay, well, now you owe us this lump sum 6 to 12 months later. Well, if you couldn't afford the monthly payments, you sure can't afford that lump sum of 6 to 12 months of payments that they want right then and there, which has led a lot of people to now looking at loan modifications, at least in the area that we serve here in Southern Nevada, and actually all of Nevada. Another option how to stop foreclosure is through bankruptcy, right? A Chapter 13 bankruptcy will allow you to repay the arrears over a 5-year period. So we take the amount of arrears, the amount you're past due, spread that over 5 years, and then you have to pay that over and included in the bankruptcy. Now, what's important to know about that is you're also gonna have to continue to make your normal payment during the bankruptcy, right? So you're gonna be paying more. You're also gonna pay trustees' fees, which is normally 10%. So you're gonna pay 10% on top of your normal payment and 10% on the arrears. For a lot of people, that can be unaffordable, but that could be a chance to stop foreclosure and at least give you one option on how to get back current. Also, since 2015, there is a mortgage modification mediation program when it comes to Chapter 13 bankruptcies, which is a chance to negotiate a loan modification before you go to that 5-year repayment option. But when we're thinking about the bankruptcy option, we also need to understand that it doesn't include just the home loan, right? It's a complete bankruptcy. So all your unsecured debt's gonna go in there as well. Also tied to that, and a benefit to it, is sometimes if the home is worth less than what's owed on the first loan, we could strip off, get rid of junior loans, get rid of your personal liability on them and any lien they may have on the property. So bankruptcy can be a powerful tool in specific situations if it's done right. You really got to talk to a lawyer about that. If you like what you've heard so far, great. Please like, comment, subscribe. It will allow us to give you more information, more videos like this in the future. If you have questions, comments, things that I'm not addressing, please put them in the comments and I will address them. If it's more of a private question that you feel uneasy making public, just email us at questions@pandalawfirm.com and we'll do our best to answer those questions as soon as possible. Okay, so let's say that you've gone through all these retention options, loan modification, forbearance, deferments, bankruptcy, and none of that's working for you, and you still need to avoid foreclosure. Well, what can we do? Well, at this point, we have to relinquish the home, right? If you can sell it traditionally, right? So if you can make a net profit on it after you pay all expenses, sell it traditionally. You have that right up until foreclosure, right? So take advantage. If you cannot sell it traditionally because you're underwater, meaning you're not gonna net enough from the sale to pay off all the lenders, then we're gonna do what's called a short sale, where we still have to get bank approval, but we're gonna sell the home at a approved price. 9 times out of 10, we're gonna get the bank to forgive you of any personal liability you may have on that loan. And we're gonna get you some money to help you move. It's called cash for keys, right? That's a negotiation process that we need a realtor for, that we should have a lawyer for, and then we're going to negotiate with the bank directly to sell to a third party with bank approval. We're just going to sell it for less, so it's short. If we go down that short sale avenue and we cannot find a price that the bank agrees to, or they don't want to approve it, then the option is doing a deed in lieu of foreclosure, giving back the deed in lieu of instead of the bank foreclosing. It's an exchange. There's no third party buying it. We still need bank approval. We're still going to negotiate with them to forgive you of the debt. There's still oftentimes we can negotiate cash for keys, essentially moving money. There's sometimes some limitations on deeds in lieu. Like if you have more than one lender, it may not be possible. If you have a whole bunch of liens, tax liens, sewage, garbage, that may impact the deed in lieu. And once again, remember, it can normally only be negotiated after we first try the short sale option. Well, when should you seek help on avoiding foreclosure? Well, if you're behind, right, you should seek help at that point, definitely. If you're struggling and you think you're going to be behind, maybe we just start talking at that point just to kind of see what your options are. If you think your rate is going to adjust, if you're going to go from an interest only to a principal and interest payment, if you're seeing job loss in the future, all those are reasons to go consult an attorney now. And really, I'm focusing on an attorney because once again, you want a fiduciary, someone who has to put your interests before their own, not a fly-by-night company. You want someone who has already been vetted by the state, who you have a pretty good idea is going to be a stand-up partner for you in this. If you cannot find an attorney that you can afford or find one that's reputable, sometimes the state has options as well, right? So maybe Google foreclosure remedies, foreclosure defense, options to avoid foreclosure. Sometimes the state has options to help with that. Like in Nevada, we do. There's programs to help homeowners pay the arrears sometimes, pay off second sometimes. And I would encourage you to look at those options. Oftentimes I have clients look at those options while I'm also helping them with the loan modification. They're not mutually exclusive. Please look at those things. Also, sometimes during political seasons or times, we can call upon our federal representatives, our senators, our congresspeople to help get action on behalf of the bank, right? Your constituents. You should reach out to your senator, your congressperson, see if they can help you if you hit a hard spot with the bank. I've had clients do that in the past when we've hit brick walls, and that's helped us accomplish loan modifications in the past as well. In conclusion, we've talked about what a foreclosure is, what might lead to foreclosure, what are some of the options to avoid foreclosure, informal negotiation, loan modification, forbearance, deferments, more formal things like bankruptcy, state foreclosure mediation programs. All these are ways where we can help avoid foreclosure and help keep one of the greatest assets you may have or have, that's your home and investment property. If you like what you've heard today, please like, comment, subscribe. That will allow us to provide you more information in the future. And thank you for spending some time at PandA Law Firm YouTube channel.